Hi, it's Ryan from Knights Around a Table, and this is a prototype version of the 100 Torii, a tile placement game for 1 to 4 players. Pencil First Games has asked me to teach you how to play, so let's take a look. You and your friends play travelers wandering through a beautiful garden during the Edo era of Japan. Torii are those big gates that often lead the way to Shinto shrines. Along your journey, you want to pass through as many Torii gates as you can to score the most points. You'll also interact with a cast of different characters, from vendors to poets, geisha to samurai. You begin the game with a starting hand of 2 tiles. You start each turn by optionally asking for help from one of the 5 different characters. We'll see how that works later on. Then you take a tile from your hand and place it to expand the garden. The tile will connect to any tile in the garden along its edges in any right angle orientation, but never along its corners. Each tile has at least one of these 6 landmarks on it: bridges, lanterns, water basins, Inari statues, Shikimori Ishi, and lotuses. You want to place your tile so that you form a path from one of these landmarks to another matching landmark in the garden. The shortest path to the nearest similar landmark scores you a token matching that landmark. So here, you'd get 1 basin token. But rotated this way, the landmarks don't connect along a path, so you don't score. Later, if someone placed this tile here, the shortest path between the basins is here, not here. That player would still earn 1 basin token, regardless. If your tile has 2 landmarks and you connect both of them to matching landmarks on another tile, you can choose which of the 2 paths to score. Usually, you'll choose the longer of the 2 paths, since it's liable to get you more points. Because if you lay down a tile such that the path connects 2 landmarks and passes through a torii, you get a bonus. Every red torii the path crosses gets you another landmark token of the same type as the one you just connected. Every blue torii you pass through gets you a non-matching landmark token of your choice. So instead of taking another bridge token, maybe you take a fox token. If your path goes through 2 or more blue torii, you can take multiple tokens of any type, same or different, as long as they don't match the original landmarks you're connecting. When you first start playing, it may feel natural to count up identical landmarks along a path and collect that many tokens, but that's not how the game works. Placing this tile here means the shortest path is between these 2 rocks. The rest of the path and the rest of the rocks don't enter into it. So because you connected these 2 rocks, you get 1 small rock token. The next thing you do on your turn is trade up your tokens. If you have 5 bridge tokens, you have to trade up to this 5-point bridge piece. If you have the 5er and you get 5 or more singles, you have to cash in these ones and flip the 5 over to the 10 side. 10 is the maximum number of points you can score for a single landmark type, but you're still allowed to collect singles after you max out, because you can use them to pay characters, as we'll soon see. There are also some meta-scoring chits you can claim at this point that we'll take a look at in just a second. On the last part of your turn, you draw back up to 2 tiles. If there are no more tiles to draw, everyone gets 1 more turn, and then the game ends, and it's time to tally up the points. There are also a few chivos you can pick up while exploring the garden. If you nab at least a 5-point token for all 6 types of landmarks, you get this bonus tile worth an extra 5 points. The first player to pull this off gets the 5-point chit, while the second player gets the 3-point chit. If you score 3 or more 10-point tokens, you get this bonus tile, worth another 5 points. Second person to do it gets the 3-point chit, and then they're all gone. While you play, you'll be requesting help from the game's different characters and earning point chits each time you do. 2 points for the first time you use a character, and an additional 2 points for the second time. If you use the Phone a Friend feature to get help from the same character for a 3rd time, you get that character's gigantic 3-point scoring tile. If you lay a tile such that you create a closed section of the garden, as long as that section has at least 2 landmarks in it, you can claim this 2-point enclosure token. So this enclosed path wouldn't score because it only has 1 landmark in it. If you scored a second enclosure, flip the token to the 4-point side. If you score a third enclosure, you get this 3-point third enclosure tile. There's only one of these in the game. Let's go back to the first step of your turn to learn about the 5 characters you'll meet in the garden. Each of these characters will offer you aid or wisdom. So you start the game with 2 coins. The price each character charges is here. You can pay in coins, in single landmark tokens, or in a combination of the two. But you can never pay in big tokens. Each of these characters will offer you aid or wisdom. The vendor lets you sink one of your tiles to the bottom of the deck and draw 2 more tiles. You don't get to draw any more tiles at the end of your turn. When you pay the samurai, you can use her token to block a spot on the table next to an existing tile. Nobody can place a tile where she's standing because she'll cut ya. Pay the poet to stand on a landmark icon and block it. This may allow you to create a much longer path than you otherwise could. Both the samurai and the poet stay on the board until someone pays to move them. The geisha lets you play both of your tiles during your turn, but you only get to score the second one. If you manage to create 2 valid enclosures using the geisha, you do score enclosure tiles for both of those enclosures. Finally, the gardener lets you place a tile on top of another tile, as long as you don't cover the start tile, or a tile that already has another tile on top of it, or a tile that has the poet on it. Hey, want to hear my poem? As much as you'd like to. When the draw tiles run out, everyone gets 1 more turn, including the player who exhausted the stack. Then you count up the points to see who's won. Your coins, small landmark tokens, and unplayed tiles aren't worth any points. Just add up the big black numbers to get your final score. Small landmark tokens break ties. Achievement tokens break second ties. If you're still tied, every tied player wins. If you want to play the 100 Torii by yourself, you'll need this reference board. You're playing against Onatsu, who the rulebook describes as an expert at visiting gardens, which I'm not so sure would look that impressive on a job application. Shuffle the garden tiles and toss 6 of them back in the box at random. You won't be using the character achievement pieces or the enclosure achievement piece, but you will need 4 of each of the character and enclosure tokens, as well as the other 2 types of achievement tokens. You don't get a starting hand, but you do still get 2 coins. If you want to make it harder, just take 1 coin. If you want to crank it up to the hardest difficulty, 0 coins. On your turn, you pull 3 tiles. You get to place 1 to expand the garden and score, as usual, while the other 2 tiles go to Onatsu. Look for the landmark on the tile and match it to one of the columns on Onatsu's board. If there are multiple landmarks on the tile you're placing, you get to pick which column to put the tile in. But 4 tiles in a column is the max. So because this tile can't go here anymore, you have to put it here. Every time Onatsu gets 2 tiles in a column, she scores the 5-point chit for that landmark. When she gets 4 tiles in a column, she scores the 10-point chit. And yes, Onatsu can earn these 2 scoring tiles if she satisfies them. But wait, it gets trickier. Onatsu loves Torii. For each red Torii on a tile that you give to her, she gets a 4-point character token matching the column where you place that tile. More than 1 red Torii on a tile? More than 1 character token. Ouch. For every blue Torii on a tile that you give to Onatsu, she makes you lose 2 tokens. You only have to give up small tokens or coins, never your big tokens. And if you give her a tile with any 2 Torii on it, you suffer those penalties I just mentioned, and you have to draw another tile and feed it to Onatsu. And suffer the penalties from that tile. Ay, ay, ay. So you place this tile, and Onatsu gets 2 poet tiles, 1 for each red Torii. And because there are 2 Torii on the tile, you have to draw another tile and give it to her, which may have a blue Torii on it, which makes you lose 2 tokens, and gives her the 5-point Lotus Bowl token because you've stacked 2 tiles in that column. When she racks up tiles in the Inari statue column, Onatsu earns enclosure point tokens. One small bit of good news is that one extra tile is the max Onatsu can get her hands on in a single go, even if the extra tile you draw has 2 Torii on it. And if you can't place a tile because the column is maxed out, you discard it, and Onatsu gets nothing. You hear that, Onatsu? You get nothing. The characters work a little differently when you're battling Onatsu in solo mode. You can only hire each character twice in the whole game because those 3-point character tokens aren't available. The vendor now lets you sink 1 tile to the bottom of the deck and draw a new one, which is yours to place in the garden. The samurai's cost jumps up to 2 tokens now, and she lets you block one of Onatsu's columns so that, oh darn, you can't place a tile there. Unlike in the base game, the samurai gets removed when this turn is finished. When the entire deck of tiles is exhausted, the game ends. If there are fewer than 3 tiles, you get to place one, and Onatsu gets the leftovers. Count the points on your scoring tokens to find out if you thoroughly destroyed Onatsu at strolling peacefully through a lovely garden. To set up a multiplayer game, start by shuffling all the garden tiles. Get rid of 2 tiles in a 4-player game, 3 tiles in a 3-player game, and 12 tiles in a 2-player game. Stack the character tiles with the 2-point side face up. You'll need as many tiles as you have players. Then lay out the big character tiles, the special scoring tiles, the big landscape point tiles, 1 of each type for each player, the small landscape tokens, the poet, the samurai, and the info board, and put the starting tile in the middle of the table. Everyone draws 2 tiles and gets 2 gold coins to start. These are the only 2 gold coins that you'll get for the entire game, so spend them wisely. And now you're ready to play the 100 Torii. Did you just watch that whole thing? Oh, hey! To 100% this video, click the badge to subscribe, and then click the bell to get notifications when I've got new stuff.